What's up, everybody? It's Zach Dresch, and you're watching the Dresch Code, home of all things music from a Dresch perspective. And today we've got a fun one. We're going to be ranking all of the albums from Chicago-based punk rock band Alkaline Trio. Alkaline Trio has been around for 25 plus years, and they've been crushing it and enjoyed a huge following over the last 25 plus years. And I am so excited to be ranking these albums because they are in my top 5 favorite bands of all time. Just countless albums and hooks that are amazing, and I hope you don't hate me for this list. So with that in mind, let's get into it. Coming in at number 9 is one that you're gonna hate me for, but it's Maybe I'll Catch Fire, released in 2000 on the Asian Man Records label. I don't know what it is about this album. It just doesn't quite do it for me. There's still some great songs on it. Radio is a classic. I know it's going to be at the top of a lot of people's lists, but the energy on it is not quite there for me. I'm not quite sure what it is. Dan's songs are the best ones on the record. You've Got So Far to Go, She Took Him to the Lake, and the title track. Just all amazing songs. Matt sounds great as well. Just the songs just aren't as strong for me this time out, you know? The songs just don't blow me away. It's not terrible. I mean, even the worst Alkaline Trio album is better than most people's best albums. So I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5 Fro picks. Number 8 on my list is My Shame Is True, released in 2013. This was an intense album for Matt Skiba as he had just went through a really bad breakup. The songs are solid, and I've listened to this album hundreds of times, but as I've grown older, this album just doesn't quite do it for me as it did when it first came out. She Lied to the FBI is one of the best songs they've ever done, though. It's a great way to kick off the album, and lead single I Want to Be a Warhol is such a great song. It's a staple on their live set for a reason. So I think it's solid, but the thing I complain about with this album is there's not enough Dan songs on it. As I've gotten older, I've appreciated Dan's songs way, way more. On the regular album, Dan has 4 songs out of 12, and there's 4 bonus tracks released before the album came out. Dan sings on 3 out of 4 of those, so he got a lot of stuff cut from the album, and the stuff that got cut is some of the best songs he's ever done. And I think that's a crime. I would have switched those tracks with some of the tracks Skiba sang, so it would be an even split between the two of them, and it would be a lot higher on my list. But it's still a solid album. I think it's great. However, Dan's songs got shorted personally, in my opinion, on this one, and I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5 Fro picks. Coming in at number 7 is This Addiction, released in 2010. A lot of people, this is their least favorite Alkaline Trio album, but I gotta say, it's pretty darn good. The simplicity on the album is what makes it for me. A lot of people hate that, but I gotta say that's why I love it. It's produced by their original producer, Matt Allison. The title track is such a banger. It's one of my favorite Alkaline Trio songs. It's underrated. It's so underrated. Anyways, a lot of great tracks on here. Matt sounds awesome on the vocals, and Dan's songs are of course great. Fine is one of the best songs he's ever done, and it's the last track on here. What a way to end the album. Yeah. There are some forgettable moments on here, like Piss and Vinegar and Dorothy don't quite do it for me, but there's more great here than meh. So, yeah, Off the Map is a great song, too. I got to mention that. And Derek Grant's drumming, I have not mentioned that here yet. Derek Grant crushes it on this album. As a drummer, Derek Grant is a huge influence on me because he's just got this fluid style that he's doing, and I just can't describe it. He's a machine, and he's so good. So for this one, I'm going to give this one 3.5 out of 5 Fro picks for This Addiction. Coming in at number 6 is Agony and Irony, released in 2008. This is the first album they had done in quite a while without producer Jerry Finn, who sadly passed away around that same time. This album holds a special place in my heart because this was the first Trio album that I really, really got into besides Crimson, which I'll get to in a little bit. Around 2007, 2008 is when I really dove into their discography. And I'm a sucker for a major label sellout album, if you want to call it that. It's not really a sellout album. It's just really radio-friendly tracks that you could hear on the radio, but somehow they just didn't get the airplay, which is a darn shame. There's a lot of tracks on here that sound like the Killers, who were at their hottest at the time. My favorite song on this album is Calling All Skeletons. Matt just really shines on this track. Help Me is a super catchy tune as well. Dan's got some great moments like Love, Love, Kiss, Kiss, and Do You Want to Know? The production is just solid. There's a lot of cool effects on it. Since it's a major label album, it's got such cool feelings to it, and it's full of pop hooks, and I'm surprised this album does not get as much love as it should. But yeah, there's a reason why it's higher on my list, because it's just so darn good. It's just chock full of pop hooks and rock tracks, and I just love it. I'm going to give this one 3.5 out of 5 Fro picks for Agony and Irony at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is their latest record, Is This Thing Cursed, released in 2018. This is the longest gap to date between their albums. The one that came before this was 2013's My Shame Is True, and the reason why it got delayed so much is because Matt Skiba obviously joined Blink-182, replacing Tom DeLonge, so that took a little bit of time. But when they came back pretty darn strong. This is their best album since Crimson, in my opinion. Produced by Cameron Webb. They recorded this album in like 3 weeks, which is pretty awesome. I love their energy that they come up with when it's just such a short time of recording. I mean, I think it worked in their favor for this one for sure. The songs are jam-packed and tight and really catchy. Dan opens this album with the title track, Is This Thing Cursed, and he knocks it out of the park. Lead single Blackbird is a trio song through and through. Derek Grant's drumming is better than ever on this one with I Can't Believe. His drum track on that is so cool. You just got to listen to it. It's hard to describe. But yeah, Dan has a lot of really cool upbeat songs on this album, and Stay sounds like a track from his Emergency Room side project as well, so I think that's really cool. Check out his Emergency Room side project or any of his side projects. Same with Matt and Derek as well. Yeah, a lot of great tracks on this one. Closes out with Crystalline, a really cool acoustic ballad. I think Matt is really great at those. I think that should close every album in my opinion, but I'm a little biased, but oh well. Definitely a return to form, fantastic record. I hope that they continue to knock it out of the park. I hear they're coming out with an album this year. I really hope they do. I love this album. I'm going to give this one a strong 3.5 out of 5 Fro picks. Number 4 on my list is one that many of you will have at the top. It's Goddammit. It's their debut release in 1998 on Asian Man Records. It's definitely a classic, do not get me wrong, but the top 3 are just, they do it a little bit more for me. This album is still a classic in its own right. There's so many great songs on this here. It's my list, goddammit. All right? See what I did there? You see what I did? Anyways, starting out of the gate, we've got Cringe. Such an amazing song. Objectively, one of the best Alkaline Trio songs of all time. Top 5. Gotta be. San Francisco and Nose Over Tail are some of the best lyrics Matt has ever posted out there. Clavicle and My Little Needle as well. Just such a good album. Dan's tracks are not as great on this one. I think even Dan would tell you that just because of production and they kind of had to rush some stuff. But yeah, it's a classic album. I will not deny that at all. That's why it's higher up on my list. It's not quite the highest, but I applaud its energy. It's a great album to listen to front to back when you're just looking for a type of record, if that makes any sense at all. I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5 Fro picks. Coming in at number 3 is Crimson, released in 2005, produced by Jerry Finn. Oh, this album is a classic. This is the first album I actually purchased from Alkaline Trio. The first song I ever heard by them was Time to Waste when it came out on Fuse and MTV2 back in 2005, around that time where all the goth punk emo was becoming huge with My Chemical Romance, that kind of stuff. This song just really resonated with me and I loved it so much. It's one of my favorite songs ever. Yeah, Mercy Me is probably the best track this band has ever done. It's the perfect Matt and Dan track all into one sitting, and that's why it's my favorite, because it takes everything that I love about Trio and puts it into one song, and that's why it's just such a classic for me. They brought Sadie back onto the table. This was a B-side originally. They put this on the album. It definitely has a Killers vibe to it as well. It's got a strong goth punk vibe on the whole album. It's a little less straightforward punk rock. It's got a lot of cool production, some strings and stuff added to it, but I think that's what makes it great. It sets it apart from the rest of the albums, and this is their we're gonna wear suits and wear a lot of makeup era, and I love it so much. I hope they kind of go back to that at some point. I just think it's super cool. But yeah, rest in peace Jerry Finn. This was his last album with the band before his untimely death, and it's just such an amazing album. It's just so well balanced and really experimental, but in a great way, and the songs really shine. I'm gonna give this album a 4.5 out of 5 Fro picks. Number 2 is From Here to Infirmary, released in 2001. I had this album at the top of my list for years. But it's been defeated by the album that I'll talk about in a second. But this album is still perfect in my opinion. Just energetic through and through the entire album. Private Eye, Mr. Chainsaw, Take Lots with Alcohol, Stupid Kid, Another Innocent Girl, Steamer Trunk, You're Dead, Armageddon, I'm Dying Tomorrow, Bloodied Up, Trucks and Trains and Crawl. All 12 tracks. Bangers. Such a good album. Some of my favorite songs ever on this album, Mr. Chainsaw, with that bass line. Dan's bass lines just shine like hell on this whole album. It's so good. Matt sounds great here. Dan sounds great. He's starting to come into his own. Just an amazing album. Crawl is one of Dan's best songs. Armageddon is a classic. You've got Stupid Kid was a huge hit for them too. Just, you can't deny how great this album is. So that's why I'm giving this one 5 out of 5 Fro picks. And lastly, it had to be done. My number one release from Alkaline Trio is Good Morning. Good Morning was released in 2003. Jerry Finn produced this one as well. This is them at their peak of songwriting. I know Matt hates this album because he just sounds so raspy and kind of just out of his voice is not doing great, but I think that adds to the charm of how dark and catchy this album is. Yeah, some of his best songs are on this album. This Could Be Love, We've Had Enough, Continental, All in Black, Fatally Yours. All of his tracks are great. Blue in the Face, oh, come on. Is one of his best songs ever. And also, this album is pretty evenly split between Matt and Dan tracks, and that's why it's my favorite. And Dan's tracks are some of the best songs he's ever written in his whole career. Every Thug Needs a Lady, 100 Stories. Emma was written by Matt, but Dan sings it, and it's perfection. Blue Carolina, If We Never Go Inside. Every single song in this album is fantastic. So if there's one Alkaline Trio album I recommend to you, if you've not listened to their discography, give Good Morning a listen, because that is their best album in my opinion. I'm going to give this one 5 out of 5 Fro picks for show. Thank you everybody for watching this video. What are your favorite Alkaline Trio albums? And rank them. Put them in the comments. I'd love to see what you think. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for the love of music. And click on that bell notification to get more videos. And so you can kind of find out when I've got more videos coming out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And we'll see you next time on The Dresch Code.